Um, I'm
Hello.
Catherine from the Force team. So I'll just start off with introducing our next presenter, Mohammed Zaid. Did I say that correct?
Yes, it's correct. Yeah, it's Mohammed Zaid. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. He works with a robotics team in Libya named Libotics. I'll link their website in the chat just so you have that. Take it away.
Yep. Should I send the link of the website in the chat, or you will make that out?
I'll do that. Yeah, that was something I was going to do.
I'd send it as well. So should I start?
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. So hi, everyone. I am Mohammed Zaid. Yep. So I am from a robotics team in Libya. It's an association indeed. It's not really a team. It's called Robotics Association. We work in opening the robotics team. So we are not a robotics team ourselves, but we open the robotics teams and we expand the first programs in Libya. We have started in 2018 with one FRC team, and now we have two FRC teams and 5 community FTC teams, as well as in the stage of opening 15 school teams. So we are expanding the FTC in here. My speech today is going to be titled Breaking the Wall of STEM. The objectives of the speech be all about how or people who is passionate about expanding first programs in our different communities, how we can get our community involved and apply the first programs, and breaking the wall of STEM and the first programs in our different communities. Simply because the communities are different and they behave differently for different topics. For example, in us in here in Libya, as listed as a third world country, for example, they react from the community when we start robotics program or something related to STEM is absolutely going to be different when, for example, a community or a city in Canada or somewhere else in that side of the planet start a STEM program or something similar. So our communities behave differently and react differently depending on what is the topic we are going to expand in there. So I will start by the story of the Robotics when we started. Let me first clarify what is Robotics. Robotics is a shortcut for Libya and robotics. So we mix it both together and we made it Robotics. And that was a huge part of convincing the community to support and to be convinced easily with the program, simply because they are seeing that robotics is something national, like it's something local. So they were excited to support. And when we started with the first team, we haven't started with the first programs, like not FRC, FTC, FLL, and FLLGR. We firstly started with the first global challenge because it's something more national, that there's one team from every nation. So that was a huge point for the community to support, because they are seeing the team as a national team, that it's a must for them to support, like it's their responsibility. So that was a huge part, and that was a huge success, and jump to the first team we started, which is Robotics U team. And after the first global challenge 2019, we moved the team to FRC, and by that time the team has already grown their fan base, and they do have so much big community following them on their different social media channels. So the team also succeeded in their first FRC year in Bosphorus regional in Istanbul. And then after the first season in FRC, we worked on opening the second team, and we made it an all girls team, simply because like there is not so much engaging for girls in here, like in this side of the world. So we tried to make an all girls team just to give a chance and a space to girls to get engaged with the engineering and STEM skills. And after that season, which is 2019-2020 season, like after all the success with the local community impact, I'm not talking about the ranking, and that's how we broke the wall of STEM in here. We are not mentioning the ranking, like not what's the rank of every team, like not the rank of the FRC teams, for example, or the rank of the team that's representing the country in the first global challenge, which is kind of the Olympics of the robots. We just mentioned how impact we left on the teams we met and how many teams we introduced Libya to. And how we reflected the image of our community and society to the world. And that's how the people in the community supported the teams and kept on supporting us as an association to expand the program and helped us to really definitely break the wall of STEM in here. And after that season, which is 2019-2020, amazingly, we got the chance and lots of support from different local schools, as well as so many adults, like plus 18 people contacted us to start their own robotics teams. So we were very privileged to open new robotics teams, the community teams. 4 of them already launched their social media channels. And amazingly, now we are in the stage of opening new 15 or 17 school teams as FTC teams. So hopefully we can have an amazing regional in here, which is going to be the biggest regional in the region, like in the Arab region in Africa. So that will absolutely help us to not only break the wall of STEM in the country or the community, but also in the whole region. And by the same criteria. So we are introducing the program and breaking the wall of STEM and robots and the first programs to the people and to the communities, not by the ranking and matches and points, but by how much important the opportunity is to reflect the image of our different communities, as well as to connect and build bridges among each other. So I think that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, and the message I wanted to pass to everyone related to the topic, which is breaking the wall of STEM. I hope that it benefited you and you got the point that it doesn't always need to be a competition to convince people to support you and to stand behind you because you are going to be the winner, or you are the one who's going to get the most of the awards possible, but as well as consider the other possible ways to reach to your community, especially if it's different from other societies. And that's for sure can happen, because it's absolutely that the communities are behaving differently and reacting differently to different topics. So consider thinking about the other ways, such as like the reflection of the society, the image of the country or the community, and the chance this program, like if you are starting a new FTC, FRC program, maybe even a team in the society or in the district, just use the other possible ways to convince the society to make a circle around you and to support you, because you are going to benefit them in so many different ways, not only to get their name at the top of the rank or at the top of the list, but you can also maybe be at the end of the list or at the end of the ranking, but you can benefit the society or the communities in so many different ways. So I think that's, I don't know if there are any questions or how much time left for the speech. If you can let me know, Catherine, I think.
Well, you're slotted out for an hour. I guess we can ask you some questions.
Yeah.
So I had a question personally. How do you think gracious professionalism fits into, like, the first ideal of gracious professionalism fits into multicultural society? I guess you talked about that a little bit.
Absolutely. I can mention so many stories and so many points related to gracious professionalism happen to us in here, simply because gracious professionalism isn't something I'm not talking about the term itself, but like the things that's combined with the gracious professionalism and their behaviors and their values aren't something built in, like, or like kind of skills that the people in this side of the world are behaving with. Like, you can see some selfishness and kind of these reactions in this side of the world. But amazingly, when we started, we are like making sure to clarify the point of a gracious professionalism at the beginning of any presentation to the teams, to schools, to sponsors, telling them that with this, like with everything we are doing, we are practicing gracious professionalism, like we are building soft skills for the students within the teams, for the mentors, for everyone that's following the social media of the teams, or for us as an association, that they need they need to like to see for all of this as not only a chance to compete, but also a chance to cooperate with different countries and to open doors to the countries and to show the world that us as like Libya or as this society are different, like from what you are seeing about us in the news or like what you are thinking about for this region. So we are relating gracious professionalism to many different things, as I believe that it's too wide, like we cannot just relate it to what we all know at first. But yep, we are making sure that all teams are practicing gracious professionalism, helping each other, cooperating, as Dana was always saying, like it's not a competition to compete, but also a competition to cooperate. So it's a competition for cooperation. So we are ensuring that all teams and everyone that's connected to the program is practicing gracious professionalism in the way or another, like just practicing it, because we believe that that really can help us to have the society and the community and the country that we hope to see, because there is a huge potential for robotics and for STEM in here. There's so much innovation, but the point that without breaking the wall of STEM, by the way, we haven't thought about at the beginning, which we was seeing that we need to be at the best, at the top of the list. We need to rank very well to convince the society to support us for next year in the FGC, or to support us in the next season for FRC, or to support us to open a new robotics team. We haven't thought at the beginning that it's more than just ranking and it's more than just a competition. But when we thought about it, like for a while, we figured that out, that we can convince the society by so many different ways, aside from being at the top of the list in the ranking or getting the most possible awards or the points. And that's what worked with our society. That's why the title of the speech is breaking the wall of STEM. That's how we broke the wall of STEM. And there are so many different ways. We can just design and structure the way we are going to break the wall of STEM or the robotics, or just the barrier in front of us to make something in the society. We need to consider the different ways we can accomplish that with. So it's more than just points, and that worked with us at this and this in our society, like amazingly worked with us. So any other questions?
Yes, that's
I don't know if
amazing.
I'm confused. I don't know if maybe I'm confused, like a little bit nervous. That's why I'm messing up with my speech, the one that I prepared. But maybe with the questions, I can follow the lineup.
Oh yeah, yeah, we do have a couple questions that have been coming in. So the first one was, what has it been like starting so many robotics teams in new countries?
What is the question?
What has it been like starting so many robotics teams in new countries?
Yeah, well, at the beginning, it's all started with the first team. The challenging was the challenge, like the big challenge and all the issues and the struggles only happened with the first team. So opening the new teams is not an issue or a struggle by any means, but the first team we open it, especially I'm relating that I am part of the Libyan society. Like Libya, it's in North Africa. It's kind of considered as an African country, but as well it's being considered as an Arabian country. So we have that part of this, like the culture, the Arab culture. So it is not easy to get something new in here, as well as like when we started the first team, it was mixed gender team. So at the beginning, there were so many struggles convincing parents to let their kids get in the team. It's something new. They don't know what robotics is, what STEM is, what is a global competition. Like we started with the first global challenge, as I mentioned. So like I travel for the kids only, not with their parents. And the kids are staying for longer time, like after the school, like it's kind of after school program for them, but it's for a long term, like not only for 1 week or 2 weeks, it's for like 1.5 months or 2 months, and like 5 hours a day and 5 days a week. So the beginning was very difficult, but we had so many different ways to convince the parents to be at the parent logistics committee or the parent logistics support we organized. So we have been inviting parents weekly or monthly, depending on every parent and their free time. Like at the end of every week or at the end of every month, we make a small party or a small gathering for parents, so they can see at the workshop, they can come to the workshop and see what their kids are doing, what they are building, what they are aiming for, the skills they have developed, the networks they have made in their young age, like 14 kids, like 14 years old kids. So the parents at the beginning were like in the first 2 or 3 weeks, it has been a struggle, but then the parents have been a huge support to the mission. And with that, when that happened, the students came to the team afterwards. They weren't like from the page or like from the team social media channels. They were coming from the relevance from the students, like their cousins, their friends from schools, and so on. Also, the parents of the old members, like they invited the kids of their friends and the people they know in their circle that's interested in this field. So that's how we made all this up. Like it doesn't happen only from like us as an association or from the only first team we started, but we had all this mission all together, like us as an association, the mentors of the first team, the students of the first team, as well as the parents. So we all fight it together to get as many people involved as possible, not in essentially as team members or as team mentors, but as well as volunteers in the different outreach activities we organize. So we had like a very huge team combined of all these people. We also made a group at the beginning in 2018. We called it Libotics Community that has like over 2,000 members. All these people are like we consider them all as a team for Libotics. Like they are not all part of the teams, like as mentors or as students or parents. Like they are the very huge supporters to the teams. So they help with us, for example, in getting funds to the team. They help with us in expanding the social media to the teams, and they help with us to convince the TV channels to interview the teams and to introduce the society to the robotics and to STEM and to what the teams are doing. But then, for example, when we are, for example, now when we are starting the FTC teams, it is a very easy task. We just posted on our social media that we are planning to have an FTC program. This is a link for what FTC is. This is a link for a previous challenge. This is a link for a regional in another country. This is how the program works. And we need people in that age to be mentors. We want to help you we will train you with what we know. We will connect you to another FTC teams in other countries. We will open doors to the country. We make connections, we make networks, and we need that number of companies to be willing to support the teams at the beginning and so on and so forth. And we need that number of schools that willing to have a robotics team. And we had just, the number is over, like the application is overfilled. It's more than we want extremely. So we just selected some people and we're in the stage of opening the teams. So it's kind of easy, although that maybe it seems difficult, like to start a robotics program in this side of the world. I mean, Libya is a third world country. And when we started at the beginning, there was a civil war running in here, but the beginning was very struggling and so much difficult, like extremely, it was like horrible and so exhausting. But now it's extremely easy to start up the teams, to train them, to manage all this out. And we have now, for example, now we do have the support from the Ministry of Education. Like the program is very well recognized, even by the ministries in here. It's very well known. So hopefully there's a potential for the first program to be very, very, very big in Libya, as well as this will help in expanding the first program in the whole region in here. That's not a brief answer. I tried to make it long and complete.
Thank you. Yes, so we do have another question. It's, what was your most impactful experience with a group of students or a single student?
Well, I remember that the philosophy we set up for the first team we started was very impactful and inspirational. So for example, when the team is opening a joining application for the team members at the beginning, when people are filling up the application, even if they came from their relevance, like cousins or like friends for the student members, they need to fill an application. And when the members fill the joining application, we split the applicants into two main categories. The first category is that the people who have experienced some like kind of things related to programming, to STEM, to robots, and so on. And the other category is the people for the people that haven't experienced anything related to engineering, anything related to STEM, anything related to programming or robotics. And when we select the people on the other side, like people who haven't experienced it. And we select the worst applications from a perspective that the people on the other side are already getting a chance after a chance because they know, they have experienced it, they have tried. But the people in the second side, they are just losing a chance after a chance because always they say that they do have passion, but they haven't experienced it, they haven't tried. So we want to give them the chance so they can help us in expanding the program and they can get more inspired than the rest of the group. So we have seen over the years, we have seen so many inspirational stories for people that have never thought that they can get in for such a big thing. And like when they come in at the beginning, like at the first day to the workshop, we can see like that their personality is extremely difficult to work on and to shape. But because they do have the passion, but they haven't get any kind of chances, they really like they learn faster than the normal students, and they get that gracious professionalism and that hope that they want to give the chance to others. Like for example, the mentors we do have for the new teams, most of them are from people that was from that side, like they experienced that, like they got inspired so much, so they want to give the same chances for others. And even the FTC teams, the community teams that newly formed, some of them already have that philosophy for now. Like when they open an application, they will select the worst applicants. They want to give the same chance they got. So that's how it works.
We love that. We have one last question here. It is, how has the coronavirus impacted your team?
Well, since the first, I mean, amazingly, first of all, amazingly that the COVID-19 is kind of controlled well in Libya. Like we haven't passed the, like, I think the 700 cases until now. It's kind of good. Uh, so when the first case got confirmed in here in March, the teams have informed us, like they emailed us, both teams, that there were only two teams at that time in March, two FRC teams. They emailed us that they are worried about the funding for next season, like since March, and they started thinking about the funding for next season. So we met a couple of times in March and in April, thinking of how they can overcome the challenge of funding. And amazingly, they came up with the idea of making face shields. I mean, since the beginning, like in the beginning of April and late March. So they started making face shields because they wanted to convince the society that the skills they do have of STEM and robotics can help the society in action, like in real. That not only making a robot for a challenge or for a certain competition, but they can use the same skills to make something that can really benefit the community directly, like something direct to the community. So they made, I believe that they made over 1,000 PP from different PPEs, like from face shields and air savers. And I believe that they got funds from different parts in here. Like one time, like 4 weeks or 3 weeks ago, the teams invited me to go with them to the municipality of the Central Tripoli. It's the biggest municipality in the capital city in here, because they invited the teams to thank them for what they have done for the society in the difficult times. And they gave them a gift, which is a 3D machine. And they promised them to help them in their next season. And also the Ministry of Education recognized the teams, as well as more than 3 TV channels. So coronavirus haven't impacted the FRC teams that much because they invested the chance and they made something direct to the community, which is PPEs, as well as some awareness campaigns. So it has impacted them in terms of they cannot meet up, like they cannot meet in person at the workshop. But however, as long as there are no off seasons in Libya, because there are only two FRC teams, so the team is usually in this period just make outreach activities or fundraising activities. So as an outreach, they're already making it at home, which is the PPEs, making the PPEs. As a fundraising, they already got so many donations and so many gifts from the municipality, from individuals, because they help with the society in action, like by making the PPEs. So hasn't been a big impact in a bad way for the teams. Instead, the coronavirus helped with the team in a very positive way in here.
That's amazing. I'm so glad that you guys were able to turn that into something positive.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We have one last question here. How do you think FIRST could improve the program experience for international teams?
Okay, can you please repeat the question? I didn't get it thoroughly.
So how can FIRST improve the experience for international teams?
Well, I remember that couple of times one of the FRC teams, 7549 Robotics team, as well as the 8141 Robotics girls team, they texted me telling me that Libya, for example, isn't listed in so many different forms, such as, for example, I remember the last one was the feedback form after the regional. Libya wasn't listed, so like FIRST is usually sending that feedback form to all students and all teams after the regional. So the students wanted to fill the feedback form because they loved the experience, but they directly texted me with a very sad feeling that they like Libya wasn't listed at the list of the countries that have FRC teams. I directly emailed FIRST and told them that teams were like disappointed by that. And I also remember that happened a couple of times before, like with only feedback forms. But regarding the experience itself, I can't really think of any way that FIRST can improve the experience for international teams, because I believe that it's perfect. I mean, FIRST is doing their best, like by contacting us, by following us very closely with what's happening with the teams, how we can help you to have more teams, how we can help you to expand the program. I mean, even the FTC programs, indeed, it wasn't our idea at the beginning, but FIRST emailed us and told us maybe we can see a potential in Libya to have a bigger FIRST program, because you have the potential maybe more than some other countries in your region, because you are the only country in the Arab region that have FRC teams and the first country in Africa that have FRC teams. So maybe you have a potential to expand the program in there. So they emailed us and they gave us the ideas. So I can see that maybe the experience for international team is really perfect, and FIRST itself is willing to expand the FIRST programs everywhere. But those are the only points that I remember, which is related to feedback form, or like only to online forms that FIRST needs to be filled by students. And usually Libya isn't listed in those forms. So that's the only point. Maybe FIRST can take care of making sure that all countries is listing, and the forms and the applications are always up to date with the teams. That's the only point.
Good to know. We do have another question here. What have your teams done to help their local communities? I know you mentioned that they've been helping with PPE production. How have they been getting out there?
For example, I will mention, for example, one thing before the coronavirus times, how the teams helped in impacting and improving and enhancing the kids' skills in the society, as well as another thing other than the PPEs during the coronavirus times. For example, before the COVID-19, like for example in 2019, the teams are collaborating to organize a big joint outreach activities every year, which is a robotics camp. So they organize a big camp in a big school in here. Like one of the teams, 7549 Robotics youth team, have a big school, private school sponsoring them. So they are asking the school to give them the whole building of the school in the evening. And they usually organize the camp every March, every year. Like they have organized this twice or 3 times. And they do have average of like 50 students in the class in the camp. So they teach the kids and introduce them to STEM, to FIRST, to robotics, to programming, to these kind of skills. And they do have the range of the members, like in 8 years old to 14 or 15 years old. So directly after they finish the camp, they recruit some of the team members in the teams. So that's one of them. I mean, to me, it seems one of the most inspirational outreach activities they are organizing. Maybe this kind of activity is already being organized hundreds of times in some other regions or in some other countries. But I mean, specifically talking about this place, this is not something normal in here, and this is not something very well known. I mean, talking about robotics isn't something, I mean, I'm talking about the term itself, robots. Robots isn't something well known in here, the term itself. So what about talking about programming and STEM and how to build a robot itself? So as long as they are organizing a camp and having hundreds of, tens, maybe hundreds in the future, but tens of kids that's learning and being introduced to such stuff, I mean, that's really inspirational, at least to me. Hopefully, by having this FTC program, I mean, we can use a very huge step. We can jump a very huge step. And other outreach activities they have organized that has impacted the community during the coronavirus time. They have been organizing kind of live streaming on their social media, like introducing the people to first and to what they are doing, to the competitions, as well as like like answering some of the very the most frequently asked questions. They introduced the people to robotics, to physics, to some of the like the most inspirational and the biggest inventions in the world. Like I'm not sure, but I believe that the schedule is like they post 4 times a week in a group that have thousands of members. They post like on a day they post about robotics, the second about maths, the second about physics, the second about the next about inventions. That's aside from the live streaming. So they have been organizing like kind of a very big awareness campaign, not only about the coronavirus stuff, but also to introduce the community to robots and so on, as simply they are using the power of social media to introduce the people to what they are doing. So whenever this whole lockdown and this whole thing is over, they can see their social media and their fan base much bigger, so they can get all these people involved in their next camp or their next outreach. Because I believe that the engagements in their social media has been so much bigger during the coronavirus than before. Like I believe, for example, the likes for their Facebook page was like 9,000. Now they do have over 13,000. So they invested the chance of staying at home to introduce the people and to grow their fan base. I mean, that's amazing. 4 or 5,000, like as an organic reach by posts and by videos and by awareness campaigns. I mean, personally, I see that's as too big for a team in here. So they are, yeah. So that's one of the outreach activities teams all over the world can run. Because I believe so many teams lost the engagements in their social media during the quarantine because they cannot organize outreach, like physical outreach. So they don't have anything to post in their social media. But kind of ideas works in here because it's something totally new. But maybe for communities that's already aware about robotics and STEM, maybe it can be difficult, but we can relate to the first point, to that speech title, which is breaking the wall of STEM. We can look for different ways to break the barriers and the wall of STEM and robotics to our community. And here it works with social media because it's not something well known. Maybe in another society, they cannot just run an awareness campaign about robots and STEM in their society because their society is already aware about this, but they can look for a different way to use the same criteria and the same technique with a different topic. And they can break the wall of not keeping their social media engaged.
That's amazing. Congratulations to you guys for doing that.
Thank you so much.
Is it difficult to order parts and receive them from the United States vendors? Does it take a lot of time or is it very expensive?
Yes, well, when it comes to this point, indeed, I forgot to mention this point when you asked me how first can improve the experience for international teams. I can't relate this to first, that's why I haven't mentioned it, but maybe we can mention this out because yes, I do believe that teams are very struggling with this point because I do remember that one time in the last build season, I went to the workshop of the 7549 team because I was very close to them at that season as a coach. So they informed me that they purchased all the parts they thought that they do need at the beginning of the season, like in December or in January. And when some of their motors got damaged in February, they cannot purchase new ones. Even so that they may be able to purchase, but it needs just so much time to arrive. It needs so much time. And they, in the forum, for example, in the feedback forum, they told me that they will be mentioning that they do hope at first provide more like mechanical stuff, like maybe more gears, more mountings with the kit itself, with the kit of parts, because like the hardware shop in Libya is very small, simply because there are no robotics stuff in here. So there's no big hardware shop. Like they cannot find shops that sell motors, for example, that sell motor controllers, that's selling nice aluminums, that sells like CNC machines, filament for the 3D printers. They cannot find this in here. They need to order everything, like the boards for the CNC, the filament for the 3D machine, the motors, the motor controllers, and all the mechanical stuff. They do need to purchase it from a different country, like DGK, a United States company, or somewhere else. So they are struggling with this, and that's why they don't have amazing robots. Like, they are not doing amazing in the competitions, simply because it's too much for them to handle the prices for the tools, simply because the shipping fees is much expensive than tools themselves. Shipping them from the United States to Libya is very expensive. Uh, so simply they cannot purchase so much because they don't think about maybe the price of the tools themselves, but they think about the shipment price. For example, for 1 kilogram of filament, it costs us, like, for example, $23. For the shipping, they donate $30 or $35. So the shipping is much more expensive than the tools themselves. So I don't know how that works with FIRST. And again, I haven't related this to FIRST at the beginning when you asked me how FIRST can improve the experience for international teams, because FIRST maybe is not responsible for the tools. The teams are responsible to purchase the tools, but maybe FIRST, to help this out, at least in these first years, before the program expands in this side of the world, maybe they can help in managing the kit of parts and help in making it involve more mechanical stuff, like more gears, more motors, just the tools that the teams are filling at the feedback forms that they do have a struggle to find them locally.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, I certainly hope that that's something that gets easier for you guys.
We hope so.
Yeah, what do you think people can do to help spread FIRST throughout the different countries in STEM?
I mean, that's the reason for the speech, which has a breaking the wall of STEM. Yeah. So let me speak like specifically about maybe expanding the FIRST programs in this region, Africa and the Arab region. The point that this side of the world, they don't. It's not that they don't want to have FIRST in here, but they don't know enough about FIRST. That's the point. So, for example, what we have done when we started the association Libotics in Libya, before we started the first team, we haven't started directly with FRC, as it's expensive and it's complicated to explain to the society. We started with something simpler. We started with FIRST Global because it's something simple, it's something national. So that helped us to break the wall of STEM and to break the wall of robotics in the society. So the same can happen. I don't know why, for example, then the teams in the other Arab region and Africa that represented their countries in the FGC, why they haven't done the same. Maybe they haven't thought of having the same strategy that they made, which is we can break the wall of STEM in our country and the robotics and the FIRST programs, not by telling the society what rank we can get, but how this going to help the society and the community in here, how we can reflect our country to the world. Maybe we can the FIRST programs can be hugely expanded in this side of the world, because there's too much potential and too much energy and too much young people in here. FIRST can really be amazing program in here. It can really help in like this huge region to just get improved and to be a better than its current situation. It can be expanded by kind of the same technique. Maybe first, I don't know if it has kind of international ambassadors. Maybe they can select kind of ambassadors in every country, and those ambassadors can help in introducing FIRST to their different societies and to the private schools, to public schools, and to the organizations that's talking about and awareing their communities about technology. And with those ambassadors, when they reach out to the local community, hopefully some of the organizations they reach to and some of the big private schools or public schools they reach to will be willing to start a team in their society. And it all starts with one team. I mean, when you have the first team, it's okay. I mean, your first year may start with the first team, but all starts here. Like first team, absolutely, when they go to a regional and when they see the crazy stuff in every regional, and when they get inspired and impacted by that world, they will absolutely try to get as many teams from the society as possible. And that's what happened with us. We haven't thought that we will be willing to expand it. But when we went to the first regional, I mean, we got inspired. We got shocked by this world. I mean, how we don't know all about this. I mean, we just really got surprised by the regional and the atmosphere and the gracious professionalism and the behavior of the teams. That's why we wanted to have another team, and that's why now we are hoping to have more teams to compete and more teams to have this experience, because it's simply in two words, it's a life-changing experience. Three words, it's a life-changing experience. So yeah, maybe it can really be expanded by this strategy, like having ambassadors, introducing first before starting first. That can work.
Alrighty, we are wrapping up here. We have about 10 more minutes. So we did receive one last question in here, or two, I guess. The first was, how many robotics teams did you say that you had? And then the second one was, did the season not having a bag night affect your teams at all?
I got the first question, but I couldn't hear the second one. For the first question, now we do have 6 active teams, 2 FRC teams, and 4 FTC teams. And we are in the stage of training another 16 teams. They haven't launched their social media channels, so we cannot consider them as active teams. But hopefully in a few weeks, like in 2 or 3 weeks, they will launch their social media channels. By that, we can have, like, in total, we will be having almost like 20 teams in FTC and 2 teams in FRC.
Alrighty, and then the second question was, what impact did not having a bag night have on your FRC teams?
What impact? I couldn't really hear the question.
So typically during the seasons, there's like a stop build point where you have to bag your robot. Since we didn't have that this year, did that change how you ran things at all?
So how the experience when there is no bag and tag day?
Yes.
Well, we have experienced this twice, because the FRC team is in here only experienced it 2 seasons. In 2018, 2019, there was a bag and tag day. In 2019, 2020, there is no bag and tag day. So when there's no bag and tag day, it's absolutely better, simply because we ship the kickoff parts. We don't join a kickoff event simply because we cannot have a kickoff event in here. We do need to go to a kickoff event in another country, and it's not always possible for us. Like in 2019, 2020, we have been to a kickoff event, but because we know how this works. But in our first year in 2018, 2019, we weren't very knowledgeable about everything that's happening. We didn't even know that there's a kickoff event and teams need to go to that country to pick their kit of parts and so on. It was very complicated. We didn't have that clear image. So we shipped the kit of parts from the kickoff event, and we received the kit of parts 2.5 weeks before the bag and tag day. So imagine, like, it's a new format team, and in this society, having all the struggles with the hardware shop, having very limited tools, and only to have 2.5 weeks, like 2.5 weeks. So it was a crazy, crazy build season, very short and limited timing. But in this season, although that we had the kit of parts much earlier, but having no bag and tag day also can be a huge success for the international teams that don't have a kickoff event. This point can really be amazingly helpful for them because they have much more time.
All righty. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us today. We really appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, I didn't know that we had teams in Libya, so this is so cool.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate your time and efforts and the chance that you gave us to introduce the Libya to the world before even the first programs, and then also to introduce that there will be so many teams in here, and we hope that they get the chance to be connected with teams all over the world, because that's, at the end of the day, that's the value and that's the end result we want, which is building bridges and building connections and just destroy and break all the walls we do have between the nations, and we can build this robotics a huge world.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for your time. We are gonna welcome on the next presenters, but thank you so much. And yeah, we hope you have a fantastic day.
Thank you. Have a great day.